Back here on Thunder and Lightning Live, Robbie Faulk here, sitting in for Brian Haydad tonight. We got a very special guest on with us, and we're not going to keep him hanging around too much. I know that Coach Arnett's had a busy day, obviously, with signing day and all that. Zach, appreciate you joining us here today, and I kind of want to start with just what this entire week, the last week, has been like for you and your staff. I mean, it's just been a really wild ride for you guys. And, I mean, of course, you had the tragic situation with Coach Leach. You're thrust into the head coaching position. You got to get your staff together. You got to sign a signing class in 1 week. I mean, how have you felt like you and your staff have handled all of this and being able to steady the ship a little bit?
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for having me. It has been a heck of a week, to say the least. I don't quite have the vocabulary. I'm not as well read as Coach Leach was, and so I'm not sure I figured out exactly the right word to properly describe it. But hectic, to say the least. I can't credit our coaches and the entire staff within the program. The recruiting staff, everyone enough for the job they've done. Obviously, it could have went one of two ways after the unfortunate news about Coach Leach. We had a very good class committed at the time, and the fact that I think almost every single one of those guys signed with us today speaks to the efforts of the coaching staff, the recruiting department, the players in our locker room who developed a relationship with those guys. Extremely proud of our program today.
You spent a lot of time as a young coach coming up under two great legendary coaches, Coach Rocky Long, obviously, and Coach Leach, too. 3 years under Coach Leach, several years, I think, around a decade or so under Coach Long. I mean, what have you learned from those two that have helped you prepare for this position?
We don't have enough time in this interview to go over all that I've learned from them. I do know that these last 3 years have been incredibly valuable to me in my development as a coach. To get to spend time under Coach Leach, see a different way of doing things, although very similar to the previous head coach I worked for. Different approaches as well. I got a little document that Coach Leach handed out, and it goes over with us as a staff once a year, kind of his coaching manifesto, but the different bullet points in there, the ability to take complex ideas and boil them down into short, simple to understand philosophies. I'm going to cherish and lean on that document, for the rest of my professional career and also in my personal life. Was a tremendous man and leader, and I'm very, very thankful and blessed for the opportunities I had to spend time under him and hopefully soak in some of his wisdom.
Moving over to this signing class, Coach, I mean, it was an incredibly difficult situation having to hold this signing class together. And, with the transfer portal and NIL, I mean, it's so easy for guys to jump off the bandwagon now. How are you guys able to hold this together in just a week's time? I mean, I know it was a lot more than that because you've built those relationships, but how did you feel like your staff was able to maintain those relationships and keep everybody on board for the most part?
Well, yeah, I think it's just what you mentioned. Obviously, this has not been a 10-day process. Coach has been recruiting a lot of these guys for a year, 2 years. We've had multiple interactions with them through junior days, unofficial visits on campus, official visits. So obviously deep relationships are developed between coaches, recruiting staff, and the recruits. But the other thing is also the players in your locker room get to know these guys, and they become friends. And, it's those relationships that helped retain this class as well. And so I think it also speaks to the kind of guys we targeted. I mean, we obviously targeted the right guys. We found guys who fit Mississippi State and wanted to be part of this program here for a lot of reasons, whether it be academics, location, relationships with coaches, relationships with players. And so the last 10 days has really been just be about reinforcing and reaffirming all those different reasons that these recruits wanted to be at Mississippi State and wanted to be part of this program. And obviously today paid off and showed the fruits of our labor.
One of those guys that seemed to really fit what you were talking about with the location and just the fit as a whole as a player was Isaac Smith. And coming from right down the road in Fulton, a guy that's a hard-nosed football player and a Mississippi guy through and through, he was a guy that I talk about, following the visits, and you can always tell a good bit about where a player's leaning by where they're going. And he was in Starkville just about every weekend that you had a football game, I think every home football game, and had a couple of visits after the season as well. Tell me a little bit about how y'all were able to snag him from some of those big-name teams, and also what he adds to the defense moving forward.
Yeah, I just think Isaac recognized that, he fit our locker room. We got a whole bunch of guys in the program who are, he knows really well. Obviously, being an in-state kid, got several guys from that Tupelo area already part of the team, but I just think he went, man, when I get around these guys, this feels like home. These are my kind of guys. And you talk about other big name teams. Well, we're a big name team too now. So I think he recognized that he could play as good a football as anywhere in the country right here, staying at home and being part of this program. And then you add into that the relationships that the different coaches built. His area recruiter, Matt Brock, guys in the recruiting department, Rod Gibson be one of them, Coach Tony Hughes, and secondary coaches, longtime recruiter in Mississippi. I mean, I think you take into account all of that, and he made the decision that this was the best place for him and his future. And obviously, we think he made the right decision. And he's going to be an early enrollee, so he'll get to go through spring ball with us. And I think he's going to really bring a physicality to our secondary. I think we got the perfect position in the defense for him. And I'm just looking forward to getting to work with him on a daily basis and watch him continue to grow and develop as a player.
He's one of several guys in this class that have that, it's a typical Mississippi State class, heavy influence in state, a lot of those defensive guys, highly projectable, talented players that a lot of times they end up doing really big things, going to the NFL, doing big things there. How important is the influence of the state of Mississippi and what y'all do as a staff, and how much emphasis do you put into recruiting the state and making sure that's kind of the cornerstone of the roster?
It's the number one emphasis. Obviously, if there's a staff here who is dumb enough or naive enough to think that you shouldn't put your most effort into recruiting the state, well, then that staff doesn't need to be here very long. We're incredibly proud. We signed 12 of the top 25 rated players in the state of Mississippi. That's more than any other school inside this state. That included 2 of the top 5 ranked players and 4 of the top 10. And so that is always going to be our priority number one when we go about evaluating the next recruiting class. Is there are football players in this state who are as talented and have more potential than anywhere else in the state. And that is reflected in the NFL Hall of Fame, on Pro Bowl teams. You see it in the NFL right now, in contract values. There are as good or better football players in this state who play high school football, play junior college football here in the state. They're as good or better players than anywhere in the country. And we would be foolish not to prioritize them above everything else when we go about starting to build a class.
You seem to really enjoy recruiting, but I know you're a football guy at heart. You like to get out there and coach and watch guys flying around, so I'm sure you've enjoyed getting back to work with your team in bowl camp. I mean, how excited is this staff and these players to play in this ball game on January 2nd and get a chance to go back out there one more time with their teammates?
Yeah, like you said, we're football guys. I mean, that's why you get into coaching. That's why you choose to play college football. You enjoy getting out there and going to work on a practice field every day. You enjoy being with your teammates, the players on your team, and you enjoy competing. And obviously, we get one more opportunity to do that. This season is not over. Our work is not done. We feel the best way. We feel the best way to honor Coach Leach, because it's what he would want us to do, would be locked in and prepare for this game and go out there and compete. And we get to go against and share the field with a great opponent in Illinois. And we know they have something to say about the outcome of the game too, and so they're going to be well prepared. They play the game the right way. Coach Beelum does a tremendous job, and we are excited and honored to share the field with them.
Coach Zach Arnett, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've been a busy man today. Good luck to you guys going to the bowl game.
Thank you very much. Hail State.